Jesus is the light that dispels darkness, and His grace transforms our weaknesses into strengths, and He makes us His disciples. Francis of Assisi, as a young man, did not even like the sight of lepers. He avoided them at all costs. One day, before his conversion, Francis was riding the horse alone in the countryside. As he moved along the road, he caught sight of a leper walking toward him. His immediate instinct was to turn back or move off to the side to avoid the leper. But there was a moment of grace in the life of Saint Francis. That day, he rode directly toward the man. He got down from the horse and warmly embraced and kissed him. It was a moment of transformation in his life. Saint Francis writes in his testament, "When I was in sin, the lepers nauseated me. But in that moment of grace, when the Lord led me to their company, I had pity on them." He saw the face of Jesus in the leper and embraced him. This event is considered as one of the opportune moments of his conversion in 1206. Francis received this light from Christ, transformed himself into becoming the second Christ, and eventually he lighted up the whole world. In the book of Isaiah, we have the prophetic reference to Christ as the light that dispels darkness. In the book of prophet Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 2, we read, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them has a light shone." The Gospel according to St. Matthew, the evangelist wanted his readers to recognize that the light of which Isaiah had spoken had finally appeared with the coming of Jesus. Jesus was the light that came to dispel the darkness of the world. The prophecy of Isaiah was fulfilled through the ministry of Jesus. Jesus' own preaching and teaching led the people to repent of their sins. St. Matthew in chapter 4, verses 12 to 23 presents Jesus as the light as prophesied by Isaiah. According to St. Matthew, he preached, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." Matthew also presents the call of the first disciples, which is an invitation also to reflect this light of Jesus. In Matthew chapter 4, verse 20 onwards, he calls his disciples who were ordinary fishermen, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." He calls them and transforms them into effective apostles to continue his mission. In the same way, he calls every Christian to dispel darkness and to embrace light, because Jesus is the light of the world. Just as he called the disciples, he calls each one of us to repent and to abandon our own boats and follow him. There may be moments in our life when we feel that we are unworthy to follow him. There may be moments in our life when we feel that we are not fit to follow him. There may be also moments in our life when we feel that we are sinful, weak, and incompetent. It is then that the Lord tells us, "I have called you, you are mine. You did not choose me, but I chose you." St. Paul, writing to the Corinthians in his first letter, chapter 1, verse 10 to 13, would say that all of us belong to Christ because he died for all of us. We are called to be united, and he makes us strong in our weaknesses. The Bible gives us many examples of God working through weak people. Noah was a drunk, Abraham was too old, Isaac was a daydreamer, Jacob was a liar, Leah was ugly, Joseph was abused, Moses had a stuttering problem, Gideon was afraid, Samson had long hair and was a womanizer, Jeremiah and Timothy were too young, David had an affair and was a murderer, Elijah was suicidal, Isaiah preached naked, Jonah ran from God, Naomi was a widow, Job went bankrupt, Peter denied Christ, the disciples fell asleep while praying, Martha was worried about everything, The Samaritan woman was divorced more than once. Zacchaeus was too small. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer. And Lazarus was dead. Yet God transformed them all and made them powerful instruments in proclaiming His word. In the same way, our weaknesses, our background, our past and our capabilities do not matter for Jesus. There may be some dark areas in our life that need to be lighted. Jesus transforms our darkness into light and makes us His disciples. May we listen to His call and allow Jesus to lighten up our life. Let us proclaim with the psalmist, "The Lord is my light and salvation.